I don't know.
This is going to be
Uh,
the weirdest recording I've ever done.
why is that?
Well, I've got a partial show with 15 minutes, and now I'm going to have. I'm so glad you're able to join us. I'm going to try to drag him in. Maybe we can have the three of us together, but I don't think it's going to work. Okay,
Okay.
I have to send him an email. I don't know what's going on there, but at least we'll be able to get you on for a little bit longer time. So
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. So who knows, man? We just fly by the seat of our pants here. You've been talking a
Yeah.
little about Contact Report 31, and you were talking about those time jumps, or
Yes.
actually, they're jumping from star to star system. There, aren't
Yeah.
they? That's the way it
Well,
works.
from my understanding, they jump into the edge of the universe, even though I don't think there is such a thing, but they have a tunnel. Well, in the contact note, there's some type of tunnel that then they go through this, and then they're in another, I guess another star system. They're in the
Mhm.
Dern.
In the Dern universe.
If I remember correctly, though, it might have been the Dow. I wish I had it in front of me
Oh yeah,
instead of a.
yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense because the Dern universe is us. The Dow universe is our parallel universe, right? It's our sister universe.
I don't. Yeah. You might know a little bit more about that than I do.
Okay. Okay.
I just recall what I read.
Okay.
I've I know there's plenty of information on both of those. And I actually think, to be honest with you, Mark, we have an epidemic of assumption, and I am trying my hardest to not use assumptions.
Now, when you say an epidemic of assumption, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, all right. Well, I'd like to. I really wish I could have this thing in front of me. But Billy said what a human being does is we collect information on a subject and
Mm-hmm.
we think about it. We reason, we try to understand it, and we come up with our own conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
But we live in a world now where we cut on the television and someone's doing this for us, and we are all making assumptions based off of how this person has done their research or how this person wants you to think in
Mm-hmm.
terms of what you to think.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all assumptions because, you know, for instance, on Facebook, people are sharing things left and right, and some of these things are just ideas. They're not even necessarily a real concept yet. And some people are saying that these things are actually happening, and they're
Okay. Now, where did you hear him talk about this? Other than was it Contact Report 31 where he talks about assumptions?
no, that's he does talk about having pre-assumptions in the meditation book.
Oh, is that
So
right?
yes, yes. If a person isn't clearly observing something for themselves and they're looking at it and putting thoughts on it, they're already assuming because they didn't actually pay attention to what they're looking at. It's like judging a book based off its cover instead of reading it.
I think that there's something really profound here that you're bringing up, and I'm not sure I've completely wrapped my mind around it. But I'm not sure exactly what else I would ask to penetrate into this more. So, is this something we Earth humans do a lot? We just run on
Oh my
assumption.
gosh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Well, just imagine we are in an age where you can open your phone up and have all this information about something.
Okay.
And I'm just going to use myself for an instance. I seem to fall into a lot of problems with people. And some people won't pick up their phones, some people won't, text me back. And so then I start making these assumptions like these people don't want to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, I found out that these people they didn't know my phone number, so they thought maybe I was a telemarketer, or or they were too busy, or I had the wrong email address, and so I made these false accusations about these people and these false assumptions that kind of caused me to either dislike them or generate harmful feelings towards them and towards myself. That these were actually very unhealthy.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Now, was some of this that you've experienced on Facebook, or
Oh, this is well, yeah, I have experiences on Facebook, yeah,
that's
yeah.
interesting? You
But
know,
I mean, you experience this throughout life.
This is very interesting. So, in other words, what people do is they hear something, and then, and kind of instead of being neutral about it, they may assume the worst. They do some kind of assumption,
Yes.
and they're not truly objective about, okay, this just says this. It doesn't imply X, Y, and Z necessarily.
Um, I would say what's going on is that we're not actually doing research for ourselves. We're automatically taking in something that we've either automatically assume about something. For instance, some people, when they start to learn about, let's say, cats not being in a house and about how unhealthy it is for a human being to house animals. I'm
Well,
trying to find something that didn't step on people's feet.
no. This is a great thing to bring up because this is one of the things I don't do very well. Like, my dogs are in the house all the time. My cats, they sleep in the garage, and I let them in the house. I let them out of the garage, say, on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually for about 4 to 6 hours. I get their food at about 2:30, and I get them back in because I find if I wait any later, they won't go back. They'll stay out roaming at night, and I get really worried about when they do that crap. So this is the kind of thing I'm doing. So, and I'm constantly cleaning my garage because of the cats. You got cat litter, da da da. You got all this hair that builds up, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I got 6 cats, but if I had all these cats in the house, it would be impossible. It would be horrific. But by the same token, I really enjoy their company. I really love when they hang out, and they do come in the house. I leave the sliding door by the back porch so they can come in and out, and then they're actually fairly trained. So I mean, I'm not having many problems, letting them out or getting them back in. But it's a big deal, It's not something I do it's something I violate. I'm violating what Billy has said in this case, and I see that I am. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, I have multiples of directions to go on this, but the reason why I bring it up is because without understanding why they're not supposed to be in the house, people can automatically get extremely upset at someone for having animals in their house. I know that I've actually have now become very allergic to dogs and whatnot, their hair, the particles, something, there's a lot of people don't clean up after their dogs and don't see that it's an issue.
Oh.
And this is because of their lack of understanding of these of that for a fact. I should say, trying to figure out a way of saying this. The hair contains all kinds of bacterias and whatnot, especially for cats. Like cats will. This was one of the biggest things my dad always hammered in my head, that cats will go into the nastiest, filthiest places. And you'll go back and they'll have this all over their skin. And yes, they will clean this, but that doesn't mean they're clean. It's almost like a facade. Like it just looks that way.
I tell you, let me, with 6 cats, and I can see the way their hair builds up in certain areas in the garage. And I'm thinking, I'm so glad they don't sleep in the house because, and the other thing is about cats is, like, they'll nip at you sometimes with their teeth, or they'll scratch you just a little bit, playing around or being affectionate or whatever. And they have so much bacteria.
Oh, yes.
That you have to, like I'll take this antibacteria stuff and put it on me right away, or it'll start itching if I don't.
Yeah, there you go. You're starting to notice.
So I am definitely aware of some of these issues. Now, like I said, I still have dogs in the house, and it's a long story, but I won't go into all of it. But I understand what you're saying. It's like, the interesting thing about the Meier case is that there's so many practical, it's just most of it's practical things that can help you with your life, correct?
Oh, definitely. Far beyond that, in my opinion. It's you can't put a price on the truth.
Yeah. I mean, One of the things I was talking about earlier today is reincarnation and how overpopulation is really disturbing the reincarnational patterns on the planet. That's a whole nother, I don't know if you've ever covered that in any depth or not, but it's a very interesting situation. Have
Well,
you?
I've
Go ahead.
I've talked about it a lot. It is a massive problem. I mean, when I was younger, I remember talking to my mom. I was like, look, I'm a computer programmer because of the opportunities I had. And I was trying to explain to my mom, like, if someone wouldn't have put a computer in front of me, what would have made me interested in such a thing? When I look back at my life and I see a lot of kids today that the internet to them is their cell phone. And the internet to me was my computer.
I'm hearing a clicking sound. Are you clicking something at all? Or is it just one of the weird...
No, I'm just outside.
That is so weird. There's so much that goes on. Skype drives me crazy. Sorry.
Oh man, since Microsoft took it over, it's just horrible. I actually don't use it anymore.
I don't blame you. But I am not a cell phone person. I'm a computer programmer as well, but I'm not a cell phone person. There's something about the cell phone that just doesn't. I have no attraction to the cell phone. What are your thoughts on the cell phone?
I love it.
Do you?
And hate it.
And hate it.
Okay, so I guess my biggest thing is that you do see a lot of people who are starting to develop asocial behavior in terms of that they're on their phone instead of looking one another in the eyes and having a conversation.
Right.
And these things are becoming rare, and I do definitely think that this is going to be a problem going forward. Because we're not gonna. I don't see cell phones ever going away. But on the flip side of it, I can walk in the Lowe's. They always have like these clearances on plants, and I can look up the plant, how it'll grow. Already have an idea of places it can go in my yard, and then I'll buy it.
Are you trying to plant trees in your yard? I had 8 new trees put in this year.
Nice. Yeah, I actually was trying to talk to you about that. I'm actually not just planting trees. I'm trying to grow fruit and all kinds of things in my yard. And so
you'll have to teach me more about that.
Oh, I'd love to, man, but I would love to actually.
Maybe we can talk about it on the show sometime.
Oh, that would be great. I would love to talk about these concepts and some of the stuff I'm doing.
Okay.
I feel like we've entered into a time period in which we've been taught about agriculture and throwing all these oils all over the ground. And I was trying to talk to you about that in the last contact note, and I think I went a little overboard because I'm so into plants and soil and whatnot.
Isn't it interesting how this material in the spiritual teaching changes your focus on things?
You know what? It's changed me so much that I've had to, within the last 3 years, I have gone through, quitting drugs altogether, to buying a new house, to planning future in terms of how I interact with people in my environment. It's been amazing. It's crazy. I don't even think I could know myself 2 years ago even.
Well, it's interesting you put it that way because it's like just in my show, I used to be so much into the history of Atlantis and the technology to jump from star to star system and the other extraterrestrial. And I used to interview a whole bunch of other people in this field. But the Meier spiritual teaching, suddenly, it focuses you on the here and now. It focuses you on the planet. It focuses you on what you really need to do for your personal evolution. It's just, I've changed so much. It's crazy.
Oh man, if you only knew. I actually read the German and I'm part of the Geisteslehrer Studieren, so I'm a studier of it.
That's the spiritual teaching, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Wow.
And yeah. Oh man, I've actually never been addicted to reading. I've never actually finished a book until I'd say about 3 years ago, and I've gotten into these things, and they are some of the most profound, and I am just wanting this. They come at a certain period, and I'm reading through it so fast and taking all of it in, and it's caused me to research so much because this is not something that you can just read and you understand it. It's almost like you have to practice it to understand like what's being talked about.
Well, that's what I'm trying to articulate more on the program here too. Is that the what happens is this is really kind of a discipline
It is.
that you come. It's a practice. You think it's a thing you do over and over again. A repetition. Oh my goodness, that's all I do is repetition.
But it's the key to success, I think. You have to keep on. There's striving, and that's what we human beings are here to do, is to constantly, toil ourselves, which is like hardships and striving.
Now, you are a member of the Creational Truth group that meets on the web, but you also meet with another group face to face physically.
Yeah, actually, North Carolina. Yeah, so there is 4 of us, and we're all passive members actually, and we meet in North Carolina. It's we're going to try to start something up. I don't know, maybe I'm tooting my own horn, but I'm really hoping that we can bring some things together and move forward to do this more often. Of course, we're already doing it on the internet, but you get way more when you're around someone than you do through the internet, of course.
I've been twice to face-to-face meetings, and both of them were in Munns Park, and it was a hardship getting all the way out to Arizona, but it had a tremendous impact on me. I can't even explain it. It just had a tremendous impact on me.
Well, in Ohio there is a group.
I know. They're somewhere. They're like Ohio Figu. I have their URL. Have you ever been out to their website?
No, but I have talked to them, and they are awesome people. I kind of definitely recommend that. If you're interested in meeting up with some people, definitely they're also very enthusiastic about such things. I probably shouldn't speak for them, but that's how I feel about it.
www.figuohio.org, and they're not an official Figu group, though, are they? Are they?
I'm actually not sure. They can be, and so I do think that they're not an official. I think they're like a study group.
Right.
So I'm not, I can't say anything other than that. I think it says it on there that they're an interest group.
I'll have to try to bring them on the show. Maybe I can talk. A lot of people, you're one of the few people. Daniel Cooper is another.
Oh, Daniel's funny.
And he is. There's a guy in Colorado, Rem.
Yes.
Remington. He's very knowledgeable. And Carol Steves from Colorado. But a lot of the Figu people, they just don't want to come on the air. I don't know what it is, but more and more are, which is good.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm always nervous because, Figu is, we're moving out of the age of Pisces, and we're literally in the transition period to, the Aquarian age, and a lot of people are still, within the beliefs and the unclarity of how things function. And, you're going to get attacked by people who assume or don't understand. And so it is scary. I think about this. I'm sure they do too.
Well, one of the things that's astonishing to me is just looking at the California fires. And if there isn't a wake-up call, I do not see how people could not take this as a gigantic wake-up call that something is profoundly wrong.
Yeah.
For example, this campfire, they call it, the so-called campfire, 11,862 structures destroyed, 9,700 single-family homes. That wasn't the biggest fire. The biggest fire this year was the Mendocino Complex fire, 459,000 acres. I can't even imagine. I have to figure it out. That's hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Yeah, Meier did write a paper about that. All the places on the West Coast will be if you ever notice, if you look at a map, it seems places that are on the west of things seem to be almost desert-like, and I think that California is, in that position because everything on the East Coast. I mean, I live on the East Coast. I guess you do as well. We've been just getting rain for the last 4 days. The idea of fires is just crazy.
Yeah,
Here.
exactly.
I
Now,
really do. That's the problem, that everyone does live in such different climates that, the idea that, there's going to be a fire sounds crazy. There's no climate change or Earth. If it is, it's benefiting me here on the East Coast. That's not how I feel, but I feel like this is going through people's minds.
oh, exactly. Now, you said Meier wrote a writing about the West Coast. You don't remember that? Could you find that if you had to?
Yeah, that was actually about the destruction of the consequences of overpopulation, the destruction of the environment due to the consequence of the overpopulation. And of course, Michael Uterbrick did a YouTube video basically highlighting certain points in there.
Wow, send me that link when you get a chance, if you can think of it. I might have seen it. It's pretty. Is it only like 10 minutes long? It's pretty short.
Well, maybe his presentation of it is, but the document itself is going to take a lot longer to read it.
Michael, I've had on the show, and I've got to get him back on the show. That guy has done so much good. I cannot say enough positive things about the guy. That show that he did on reincarnation and the spirit form is one of the best movies on YouTube. It's awesome.
It's great. Yes. Yeah. I definitely recommend it to people who are interested in the subject of, especially of the Meier case, reincarnation.
That dude, I just get the feeling that he's kind of gone underground, like he's up there in Canada and he's preparing for all the big shit storm, excuse my French.
Well, I would say they're probably better off in Canada. Now, I do follow what some other people have said in terms of prophecy, especially Bubba Vanga talked about.
Who?
Bubba Vanga. Actually, Bubba is in that language, mother. I don't know if you've ever heard her.
Bubba Vanga? How do you spell that last name?
Oh man, I think it's Vagen or An. Bubba Vanga. Okay. So it's Vaba. I imagine Google would probably correct you if you type it in there. It's kind of amazing how Google can predict what you're trying to say based off of just small, errors that you make in the spelling.
Well, what's interesting to me about Google, which I don't like, is I'm starting to see, if you Google, people that are considered somewhat controversial that go against the mainstream, instead of being objective and just taking you to their website, they take you to all these pages that discredit people. It's kind of like Google is showing a political slant now, but that's a whole nother show we could do on that.
Yeah, I think this is all going to get out of control.
Yeah.
That yeah.
I think it relates to the whole Civil War thing too.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to Bubba Vanga and just say that based off of some of the stuff that she says, that that's where we're going to be in the future. That's where we're going to be growing our fruits and vegetables at. And they're going to import animals there.
Where?
Because that's where the decent climate will be based off of how hot it's getting now. It's going to get just great in the, I think it's the East Coast part of Canada.
Really? In the northern Canada area?
Yeah, I know that sounds kind of crazy now, but if you pay attention to the jet stream as well as the rain that they've been getting up there, I should say even the blizzards or the snow, that'll eventually just be rain, and that'll become a rainforest up there.
Wow. So Bubba Vanga is a woman?
Yes, sir, yeah. Oh, she went blind from a tornado accident, and during this blindsidedness, she got a little delusional. However, whatever she's doing, she's definitely tapping into some of the future events, and she's already gotten certain things right. But I feel like she kind of came after Meier in terms of some of these predictions.
Oh,
but
really?
She predicted all the way out to when we leave and the sun, goes kaput almost, but she doesn't say that. She just says that we become immortals, and I feel like she kind of gets a little delusional because
Hmm.
we don't necessarily have words for, the way that Meier's given them to us, of course.
So she doesn't really know anything about the Meier case per se, or doesn't talk about
She's
it.
dead now. She's dead now.
Oh, she is.
Oh yeah, she died in 1995.
Wow, I've never heard of this before. I haven't really
Oh really?
considered the significance of it. If I did hear it, I may have just looked over it. And oh, I tell you, there's a lot of bad stuff. That's why I focus a lot on trying to learn the spiritual teachings to maintain optimism. It takes a lot of perseverance and strength. You know what I'm saying?
The more I learn, the more comfortable I become, it seems.
Good.
Knowledge has this profound effect on a human being.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, but I feel like, you can be around a very, very smart person and they don't understand how to treat other people. And I feel like that's another thing that Meyer is trying to teach. Pay attention to yourself. You'll understand others as well.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. It is amazing the way information can change you.
Mm-hmm.
And people that haven't been exposed to that same information, who knows what they think? They're like, what? You know how you have that shock on people?
Yeah. Or they have it on me.
Exactly. It is interesting. It's very, very interesting the way that all, like when I'm studying like the California wildfires, just for example, there's a certain level, there's like this cognitive dissonance I go through. It's a shock. It's a shock value. Like I just turned away from it in 2017. I stopped covering it because it was almost, I needed to get back to the spiritual teaching to really focus on it because it was just becoming overwhelming. And I think that's the challenges of these historical trends. They ramp up. They're going to stretch our imagination. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Things that we have forward to yet not imagined will be happening, like the hurricanes of tremendous proportion.
Yeah, I had a roommate and I showed him some of the Enoch prophecies, and he's like, this was back 2010, and he had to look up what a fire tornado was because he's never heard or seen one, and now all of a sudden we're seeing them all over the place in California.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And if you look in several places, he says it really subtly, like there's so much information packed in that Contact Report 215. He talks about civilization collapsing.
Yeah, that's happening.
That is just beyond the implications of that statement. You just read over it and you go right on, but when it starts to sink in, you're like, civilization collapsing. I recently saw a movie. I recommend it to everyone that's going to listen to this show. Go out and rent what's called The Big Short, or look it up. You can Google it if you have to, and you can find if I'm missing the title a little bit. It's about the real estate collapse of 2008 and the intricacies of all of that. Our financial system is so corrupt. It's so corrupt. You cannot even imagine how corrupt it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I've discussed this before. Of course, I was taught a lot about this and still need to do a lot of research myself. But yeah, I know that during the 90s when, George Bush and them allowed a lot of the stuff to, I shouldn't say George Bush, that was Clinton, that did the whole NAFTA situation.
Yeah.
And during that, they allowed a lot of these crazy things that we do on the stock market, like shorting the stocks and making money, the downfall of it, which is really sad.
Yeah, that doesn't make any logical sense, but they do. They can make fortunes on the fact that the stock market's going down. What?
Yeah, it's not. It's sad. But I mean, I feel like they know that some of these people are never going to pay back some of these crazy loans like they did in 2008, and then it all fell on them, and our government had to bail them out.
2008, they were giving loans to people who had no money, no job, no income of any kind, and they were giving them loans, big houses on the West Coast with swimming pools and things like that. It's completely absurd. Totally absurd.
I thought it was kind of interesting. I was renting from some people before I started to buy my house, and they actually, because of that, she was able to get her house, and she's very responsible, and they made lots of payments and whatnot, but it did benefit certain people as well. So I see the good and the bad in it, but naturally, yeah, that was criminal.
One of the things that I'll just throw in here quickly, I didn't mean to take us off on so many different tangents here, but one of the California fire things that's not being covered is one of these fires in the South. There's an area, and I don't know enough about this, but there's an area in Southern California where there was some kind of nuclear problem, like on the level of 3 Mile Island, and the fire has gone into that area. And they say, yes, that the fire is actually spreading this stuff into the air. No one's talking about it. I heard it on Russia Today. That's the only reason I heard about it. I thought, oh my goodness, what is going on there?
It is quite interesting that a lot of the information that I'm able to find about the United States also comes from RT.
I believe there is some, I don't know who they are. I don't know if it's Saudi Arabia. It could be the communist Chinese. I don't know. But they've taken over the deep state. The deep state now controls the media. And the media, the mainstream media, is putting out complete and total garbage. And there's a whole segment of the population that is brainwashed by them. It's astounding to me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I couldn't believe the other day I heard someone saying that China, on CNN, I believe, was trying to rig our elections with Russia. And I was like, oh, man, they're still on this, aren't they?
They're never going to let it go. It's just so ridiculous. This just keeps going and going and going. Oh, my goodness.
Do you remember the election time about what they were saying about Trump and how they were, underdogging Bernie Sanders?
Yeah, it's just the whole thing. It's depressing to me because it's degraded to such a level. And, we have talked about the Civil War that's predicted again by the Meier material. And I can remember 2 or 3 years ago, and this is the way my brain works, like 3 or 4 years ago or whatever it was, I lose track of time, when I would read about the Civil Wars and Billy's predictions / prophecies, I would say, I think he's going to be way wrong on that one, And then here we are, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. You know what I mean?
Well, I actually came at it very differently.
Okay.
I actually had tremendous amount of hatred towards our government, and I've become more balanced about it now, of course. But
really, wow,
I could not see how a country could just go into another country, bomb them, destabilize them, do all these crazy things. And I would talk to people about it, and everyone's like, "This is the way it's always going to be." And I was like, "This is not going to last. The people are going to eventually rise up against this."
Mm-hmm.
And so I had actually searched out for anybody talking about this, and that's how I ended up finding out about Meier.
Really?
Yeah. So he was talking about it, and I was like, "Finally, here's somebody talking about it." But then also made these situations that they were going to split apart, and I had to do a lot of thinking about that.
So, can you elaborate on the thoughts you had and what it all meant to you?
Well, the first time I found out that our government was lying to us and doing all these crazy things, I mean, there's so much information out about some of the stuff they've done, doing testing experiments on soldiers. And if you look at the way they treated the veterans, my dad being a veteran, and I've met so many homeless veterans that it's kind of strange that we have all these celebrations for them, but yet we have all these homeless people, all these
Doesn't,
homeless veterans.
yeah, doesn't make
It's
sense.
No, it doesn't. It's never made sense to me. And you look at who's supposed to take care of them. It's the government, in terms of, that they say they were. I don't know exactly the situations of each and every individual,
Hmm.
but that's just a small thing. And then, I look at all the wars, and I instantly knew that one day we were the American people, whether they like it or not. And as Billy's even stated it, that we're going to be blamed for all this, and yet we have no control over when we're going to war. I've never had a vote where I can say that I don't want anything to do with these wars. That has nothing to do with the people.
Now, in terms of the wars, which was the first war that kind of showed you that this was a racket? Was it the Vietnam War, or what? When did you?
Actually, probably the one that hurt me the most is what happened to Gaddafi. I actually cried when I found out that guy was killed.
He was
And
a very good leader. He was a good leader.
I actually cried when I found that out. I don't typically admit that, but I cried that day. I won't ever forget it, which is kind of strange. And
Wow.
I knew that that point we were, because, I had already started to realize that we were never going to leave, all these countries that we went in and killed the dictators and stuff, and tried to, put our own government, and then learning about what we did in Venezuela. And I mean, there's just so much, if people would just dive into the history of what we've done, that it's sickening to me.
I don't have any great knowledge of a lot of political things that have happened, but there are, like, for example, what is it? The leader of Iran right now, or Syria. That's Syria is the place that we keep. They keep saying that, the children were exposed to chemical weapons and all this stuff, and the leader of Syria to me seems like an intelligent, reasonable guy. So there's something here that's not true. Like,
Well,
what is it that's we're not getting the whole story here? You know what I'm saying?
well, Billy actually came out with about those poisons, and I know some of them are blamed on Russia. And he
Hmm.
actually talked about where they came from, and that was actually in a recent contact note, probably about a year ago, I guess. No, it's not a year ago. It's been some months back.
What did he say?
I don't want to misquote it, but I
Okay.
do want to bring up one thing that has to do with World War II that I recently learned that was pretty stunning. Um, wow, we're really getting off topic here, but London was actually dropping bombs on Berlin, and
Hmm.
some of them they would miss, and they would just drop it somewhere else. And so they were trying to entice a war with Germany. And during this time, Hitler actually wanted to make allies with the UK.
He did.
And
He
yes,
did
and
twice.
Billy. Oh,
Twice.
okay. Here's this.
At least twice, maybe more. He sent messages to Chamberlain saying, "Let's make peace. Let's stop this war." And this was
Yeah.
before he started losing too.
Yes. Oh, this was way before it began, really, from my understanding.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Billy wrote a contact note, and I believe it was Patah that was, or maybe it was Billy. I don't hate misquoting these things. I wish I had them in front of me. But I have a YouTube video where I put up, and it has Winston Church, I believe, is one of
Churchill.
the Churchill. Thank you. Yes, and then I have I use DeepL to translate it and put it on a website because a lot of people are upset because they would rather read it than hear some electronic voice, which I don't blame them.
Yeah, people
So
get mad about that electronic voice, don't they?
yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah, it's a little annoying.
I don't know. Well, yeah. It turns to the voice. Yes, the complaining. I don't think it's annoying. I think it's. I understand.
Hmm. Yeah, but Churchill was just as bad as Hitler, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's so much dirt on Hitler that I've always had a hard time someone telling me this guy was crazy, and I'm not saying that he isn't or it was not. It just none of it made sense to just kill your own population.
Well,
So,
he completely turned around their economy,
oh yeah,
and he outlawed like hunting. He wouldn't allow the killing and torture of animals. There was a lot that a lot of his thoughts he was not the psychopath that they make him out to be. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm aware.
And the German people as a whole, particularly their scientists, were so advanced.
Oh, yeah.
If they hadn't have been wiped out, we as a world would be better off, I think.
Well, we did take in some of those scientists here. I don't know if, I guess you know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
That,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and we've advanced because of that. But I often wonder if this has something to do with the language. Their language in and of itself allows a person to be creative. I mean, Billy's able to create these words that you type into a translator and it doesn't understand because they're so new. But the concept in and of itself are right there in the words. You understand them as a German.
Now, my German is pretty limited. Like, ich habe eine Tasse, ich habe eine Löffel, ich habe eine Gabel. I can say like third grade level stuff. That's about as far as
I don't know what you just said. I'm sorry. Is keine? Is that what you're saying?
Ich habe eine Tasse. I have a cup.
Tasse. Oh.
Ich habe eine Löffel. I have a spoon.
Is ich, like ich. That's the hardest. CH is the hardest for Americans, I'll tell you what.
Oh, you mean ich?
Yes, sir.
See, I'm never going to pronounce it right. I've already given
don't say that. You'll get it. It just takes practice. Look, I'm struggling saying some of the vowels, so I'm with you.
But one of the things, I could not get hold of Frosty Wooldridge today, and I'm going to have to give him a call later. I couldn't get him on to come on Skype. Something wasn't working right there. But I'm glad I was able to get back with you because one of the things I want us to work in a little bit of German time.
Okay.
In the future. And I want you to take us with real simple things like I have a cup, I have a spoon, I have a fork. I mean, that's about as I'm low-hanging fruit here, okay?
Well, I'll do my best. A lot of the words I mispronounce, and it causes me a tremendous amount of angst to teach German because of this. So, but the stuff I do know, I definitely will try. I actually think it's more important that people understand the words and how the building of German works.
Well, that would be something very interesting to go over too, because I don't know nearly enough about that.
Well, I don't mind. I don't mind.
Now, tell me a little bit about your experience. And I know we've only got like 15 minutes left, but when I first went out to Munns Park, I was really more into the contact reports, and I wasn't yet into Billy's books. And I kind of wanted to focus. See, here's how my thinking was wrong. You know, I thought it was all coming from the extraterrestrials. And I didn't know, about reincarnation and about Billy's spirit form and, how old his spirit form was. So when I started picking up the Might of Thoughts book, and I'm like, we would sit around this table at Munns Park and I would read a few sentences and I was like, holy crap, what in the world did that just say? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then I have to go back through it step by step. And it may take a week or two or three before I can really understand that sentence, at least for me.
Yeah. In the psyche, it says to read it 3 times.
At least.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, it helps me,
For example, here's one little paragraph that I just pulled up. Here it says, a plant sprouts from a seed and can therefore not come into existence without it. It is also exactly the same with the acts, deeds, and wishes of the human being, as well as with the human being's character, morality, and entire personality, as well as with the state of his or her psyche. Everything springs forth from the might of the human being's thoughts, which sprout and unfold from an idea or from a perception or from another form, quite like a plant, which has its origin in a seed. So, you and I could spend the next couple weeks on that paragraph, and you can literally pick any paragraph in the book, and it's the same kind of thing. Don't you agree?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I would say though, I feel like if you study nature, you would come to conclusions about a lot of these things, which I think scientists are today.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So it'll be interesting to see if we progress along those lines.
Well, we don't understand the infindong, and we don't understand the power of the psyche. We have a lot of lack of understandings of the inner part of the human being.
Now, you were you pronouncing the word for empfinden just then, empfindong?
Oh, infindong, yeah, or infinden, yeah.
Now that is the feelings because Billy, isn't it? I mean, Billy says we do not understand our feelings yet, which I totally relate to.
Well, I mean, there's, I guess you could say there's like two types of feelings because they talk about emotional, and then they talk about the feelings that are that you invented. I don't think there's an English word for it,
Well,
which comes forth
the
from a
thoughts.
type of perception.
Okay.
Yeah, which one feels typically in the like you've ever gone into a certain area and then you got this bad feeling in your stomach.
All the time, man. I tell you what, that's my life story as a kid. Like driving, seriously, driving with my parents, and like we're going from one city to the other, and we're halfway through there, and we go past this cornfield and in this other area, and I just feel this sense of dread. And here I am, 10 years old or 12 years old, thinking, why am I feeling this? Do you have those kind of feelings?
Yeah. I've actually thought, what happened to us? Why don't we, pay attention to these things anymore? And I realized, like, as a kid, you're not being told that, to pay attention to this, that, and the other.
Now, does Billy talk about that?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's the topic of our next show, man, because
I don't know about that.
is it
But
hard
yes.
to? Well, yeah, I mean, I was plagued with that my whole life as a kid. I mean, it's like we go to some place and I just get this terrible dread. Like, it's like my subconscious trying to tell me something.
That's where it comes. Yeah, where it comes from.
Does Billy talk about that? I do not.
Yeah, he does. He does. However, I'm not sure
You can't
how much I understand.
you cannot articulate it yet. It takes a while.
Yeah, wie leisten Deutsch? I shouldn't have done that.
It requires the German. Is that what you mean?
Well, the thing is that, do you know what I mean? Besides what you've read about Billy, have you ever looked up the word like Empfindung or Empfinden in the dictionary, in a German dictionary?
Well, a lot of times it's different than what Billy explains it to be. But go ahead, tell us.
Oh no, I don't feel qualified unless it's in front of me. I don't want to lead people astray and about that word.
Okay,
But that's in Contact 31 where he says that he gets, the reason
oh,
why he was meeting with females is because he instantly has this he instantly infindons females, he says that he really doesn't like being around males, and I was like, oh my god, I understand exactly what he's talking about.
so that's the one word he kept repeating in Contact Report 31. Every time they would do one of these jumps, he would say that again and again and again, right?
I don't know if that was the word or not. It might have been.
Okay.
I don't remember looking at the German on that,
Okay.
but I remember whenever he was, coming up to Nora, I think to say her name, and ask it, he would instantly feel this loving, feeling from them because, the course, I don't know why. I imagine they're generating this within themselves and whatnot.
Now that is very interesting. Now that you brought this up,
Remember that, right?
I do. Okay, for example, Contact Report 31, line 256, it says, for this reason, it is also not possible for us to EMPFINDE
Intended.
and receive your thoughts and feelings because we are still in the process of consciousness-related spiritual evolution. Therefore, neither I nor my father nor any of us were able to reproduce for you later your feelings and thoughts so that you may write them down yourself. If nevertheless you wish to do this, there is possibility for using technical means. I guess what they're talking about is his experience when they were jumping into null time. And
Yeah. Sorry
was,
about that.
What was that? Your battery?
My phone. No, that was no. It was. I'm sorry. It was some type of notification or something.
Okay. So, and Billy says, of course, I am interested in remembering all my thoughts and feelings, but I'm not able to do that myself. Question mark. Semyase says, yes, of course, but you know that your remembering ability is not so highly developed that you can repeat longer memories word for word. So in the contact reports, they would transmit him word for word everything that was said, right?
Well, they're talking about when they do this jump, they had to put this thing over his head, or else he won't remember the experience.
He won't remember it at all?
No. You're kind of course, Billy had the ability to feel this when they made these slight jumps, but when they're staying in it for 7 minutes, it's like waking up out of a dream. You might remember for a few minutes, and then it's kind of gone.
It's a massive, it's a flood of feelings and thoughts, and it's like a fire hose.
It's more like trying to recall a memory in a dream, but you didn't have the dream in the physical. So it's like a different type of memory.
Wow.
Which they actually cover in there, that he doesn't store memories like me and you do in our hippocampus. He does it more of recalling, which is, I guess, an evolutionary thing that I'm not aware of, some type of conscious ability that I'm not aware of at this point of my evolution.
So you mentioned the word hippocampus. So a normal Earth human stores memories in their hippocampus, which is an area of the brain, right?
Yeah. Billy talks about this in the psyche with the short term, the long term, and then I think it's ultra long. If I remember correctly. Or ultra short. Oh God.
That will be our second topic for the next show.
Well, I studied this deeply when I got into the teachings. I had to. The psyche book is precious in the fact that this is what we used to call the soul. It must have been a big deal if Billy's always talking about the psyche, or what is this? And so I had to study that book.
I spent weeks in the first 4 or 5 chapters of that book just trying to get it through my thick skull. I cannot explain that. I think my niece just ordered that book.
Oh, that's a great book.
I will be interested to see if she orders it, and if she does, if she'll get anything out of it. That was tough. Those first few chapters were like, what is he talking about? The psyche, the Gemut, the Empfinden, all. What in the world? Go ahead.
Hey, how do you say Nocodamian? Or I guess I just said it.
That's exactly the way I say it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've heard you say Nocodimjon or something like that. And I didn't know.
Sometimes I pronounce it that way, which I shouldn't.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if that was something different or whatnot. I've always been wanting to ask you about that.
What's interesting is I do not know if we're going to hear the music at the end of the hour. Now, they may be playing the music. I don't know. A lot of times it'll start like 5 minutes before the hour or something like that. So in the next few minutes, we will see what happens here. I'm not sure. So,
okay.
Yeah, but actually, maybe we could just, put a stake in the ground here. And I don't think there's any wrong thing with stopping the show a few minutes early. But yeah, let's continue this, and we can pick up back in Contact Report 31. I love what you're talking about, the Empfinden and Empfinden. I can't even pronounce that right.
Yeah, it's like a these almost.
And yeah, anything you want to bring for the next show, it would be absolutely fantastic.
All right, I will say this though. Next week, I'm actually going to be meeting up with the North Carolina group.
Okay, so we can pick up the following week.
Okay, great. I was going to talk to you kind of that off air, but just letting you know.
Oh, that's perfect. There's no
And
problem. We're very
okay,
flexible. All right.
super.
I think that's the music playing anyway.
All right. Well, it's been a. Thank you so much, Mark.
We'll talk later, Solon. Have a good evening. Bye bye.
Bye bye.